Welcome, my alumni friends. Again, my name is Jim Wright. I'm the Director of Alumni Services, and I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Or if you're not here with us today, you easily can click onto our Gateway Facebook page and also our YouTube channel. I think the Recovery Made Real themes have been really, really powerful with myself, or if I have a Gateway alum or one of our staff members to stay on topic. This particular week, addiction affects everyone. Just a little bit from my own family, my own experience, that is so true. We really don't even know why, but I find that I remember my kids sharing with me just about how they were affected by my drinking and my drug use. And it was really something that I didn't really like to hear. I have to admit, I remember that. But addiction does affect everyone. And everybody's a little different. I know that we've all been taught to put our recovery first, and that is really, really important. But we have other family members and other people around us that really want us to get well and to move on. So today, I have invited Erin S. and her husband Charles to join us today. Welcome, Erin.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here with us today. Under the circumstances, it is a Friday.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
My husband and I have a case of bronchitis, so.
I'm so appreciative, and I think in recovery, right, one of the important things is to communicate. And you and I did a good job of that this week, so thank you very much.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that I've learned in recovery is to show up, so get dressed and show up. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. So why don't you go ahead and give us a little snapshot of your recovery, and and give us, and when Charles joins us, hopefully he'll have some questions for you, and then if not, we'll continue through the process. So thank you.
Great. Hi, everyone watching. I'm Erin. I'm an addict alcoholic. And thank you, Jim, for inviting me on here and allowing me to tell my story. Gateway was a huge part of my recovery, and it changed my life. So I'm always grateful to Gateway. Addiction started very early for me. Now, in retrospect, looking back, I came from a very my parents were both addicts and mentally ill, and so it was a very traumatic home. And I was neglected a lot as a child, and I was never taught how to kind of process emotions. So I grew up very fear-filled, very insecure, and the way that I coped, first I now look back and notice was with sugar, but the way that I coped with my emotions was I learned about 14 years old, had my first drink, and alcohol just completely got rid of all of those fears, insecurities, everything that was going on in my head. Being in that kind of home where there's a lot of trauma and abuse and different things, you're often isolated, and then you start, I would get triggered into this fear into my mind, and get a lot of anxiety, and there wasn't much that I could use as a tool. And so when I first drank that first sip of alcohol, it completely changed everything for me. And it became something that I started looking for, something that I started chasing. And then, I got introduced to other drugs along the way. I got introduced to clean pills, which became my big love. I had a surgery when I was 21, and they really altered. I remember writing in a diary that, this is my antidepressant. Everybody else takes Zoloft or Lexapro or these other things. This is mine. Not really thinking that I'd have to take more and more, and that, I could die.
Right.
So I became a pill chaser, doctor shopper, lied about the quantities, took like a bottle that I was supposed to take in 30 days in one day. My addiction, basically, I was just looking for anything. The main thing for me that I now look back and I see is that I was never comfortable with myself. I was never comfortable being alone. I was always, like I said, fear-filled and anxious, and I was always living in my head. So I was always creating something in my head that was either fear of the future, or I was living in my past traumas and in depression. And so I never had the capability of being present in my life. So, all these things outside of myself really helped me to kind of numb all the obsession and all of the anxiety. So I flew away when I was 18 to New York City. I started blacking out with my drinking. I started performing, and I lived kind of a dual life of, performing all over the world, and then also, coming back and drinking and partying and blacking out, and it just was a complete life of chaos, basically. And it led me to a lot of places where I didn't know who I was with. I put myself in dangerous situations. I harmed myself. I didn't like myself. I was cutting. I was doing so many destructive, terrible things to myself. And I just basically wanted to die at certain points because I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop, but yet I didn't really wanna go on living. So, and now my husband is here. But yeah, so I went to one rehab when I was 21, and then I came back out and I started taking diet pills to try, because I had gained some weight in recovery, and I decided this is Charles.
Oh.
I decided that it wasn't okay, so I started taking diet pills that I could control, thinking that I could control the pain pills. Then, the addict in my mind is always talking, and so I started back again with the pain pills, and then it led to drinking, and then it led to. So if I participate in any of my addictions, whether it be pills, alcohol, sugar, I'm working on, all these things that I reach outside of myself and I can't stop once I start, then a lot of times they tend to domino with each other. So those things can't be my solution anymore. So I went to Gateway after, working at a bar, blacking out a lot, coming home, throwing up on the floor. My husband would find me, be afraid if I was alive or dead, cover me in a blanket and let me sleep and puke. And, I'd run into walls. I mean, I was just out of it. And Gateway, I was scared, but I knew I couldn't go on living. I couldn't control my drinking. And so when I went in, I came out, and since then I've been sober. And I go to AA regularly. I go every day now. Right now, I'm going like 2 or 3 times a day. I'm a member of the board of LPAC, which is a club here. I sponsor women. And the most important thing that I've learned is to work the steps. I had to incorporate the steps into my life. I had to go through the past. I had to actually get a sponsor and work the steps. I had to be of service. I had to do what was suggested of me, and I had to find a higher power of my understanding.
Right.
Me, God, and my relationship with my higher power is the most important thing. So I start my day off praying. I teach my son my spiritual life. I meditate. I listen to the master of my spiritual center. I talk to God throughout my day. Anytime I feel agitated, I try to pause and get connected with my higher power. And it's only through my spiritual life that I'm able to stay stopped. I truly believe that. If I did not grow my spiritual life, I don't know that I could stay sober. So for me, that's an important aspect of my sobriety. So every day is a day where I take certain actions to stay sober. And it deals with AA, it deals with my spiritual life, it deals with service to others, it deals with God. And I have to repeat and do it every day, a day at a time.
Right. It's just a matter of getting right in your own recovery, and that's why I always share that with our alumni, depending on where they are, with the structured toolkit that they take out of Gateway, which you did, and being able to expand where they feel they new people. I think that was the hardest thing for me. So I'm going to segue that. Charles, thank you so much for coming on today. And so, what are your thoughts on what Aaron had just shared with us? What's your insight is? The addiction affects everyone is the topic. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts?
I think Gateway is outstanding. Aaron had looked into various programs previously, since I knew her since I met her in 2008. Okay. And I think by far Gateway has really been life-changing. And I actually love the program so much. I saved the certificate that she got when she left, and it's on my desk since 2013. So I just have a tremendous emotional affinity for the program, and how literally Aaron was a person in need. We drove over to the Gateway, to the location. It was all done very short notice. There were some other programs that I'm not sure that day or that week she had been trying. There were a variety of programs she was looking to get into very quickly. And it was just a last minute thing that this location worked out. And it's just kind of been a life-changing experience ever since. Whenever we drive past the exit to see that location, I'm always like, oh, that was, you feel the positive energy from, at least I feel the positive energy. I'll never forget the rest of my life, just that location when I go drive by it and everything like that. So, I have nothing but positive things to say. And I think I see ads on television and other media for these different programs. And I've seen documentaries about kind of programs that charge a lot of money or kind of questionable approaches. I even have some working with indirectly with companies that are seeking to capitalize on this industry and charging very substantial rates, but with not any more, not really offering any more than Gateway would, and even possibly less. And I feel like by doing the basic approach here and just offering help to people in need to the best of their ability, Gateway has just been a tremendous asset to people's lives.
Well, thank you so much for that review. Everybody hear that? The addiction, Aaron's addictions, or had you had any experience, with people that had an addictive nature, or drank or used drugs too much, or your background? I mean, the reason I asked this is because my first life with my first wife, everything changed around that scenario. And I come from two heavy drinking families that just, that it was like what Aaron shared earlier. So my question is, what do you think the addiction, or were you able to kind of read it, or was it something that you helped Aaron with her decision to come to treatment?
I had no knowledge of. I actually didn't have any experience really in my background with it, so it was pretty new to me. I didn't understand the idea of one substance triggering into another substance. So I didn't understand the concept of, you could like someone with an addiction to let's say particularly if someone doesn't have a major issue with alcohol, but that would trigger addictive behavior in other things. So even though in my personal experience, maybe earlier on, I didn't see much of an issue with Aaron with alcohol, I did learn that it did trigger other addictive behaviors. So it kind of was a lifestyle of sobriety, really. It was she needed to have in order to be healthy, in order to be and have an overall healthy life, you not being able to balance, okay, I can have some of this and that'll be okay.
The thing about it is, what I talked about, my main addiction being the pain pills. If I was
Right.
taking a pain pill, I didn't need to drink much. So, I take
It's
a pain
true.
pill. Yeah, I take a pain pill. And with him, he didn't know I was on the pain pill. I'd have one glass of wine and I'd be like, woo, but he didn't know I had other substances.
Right.
So I controlled my alcohol because I had other substances inside of me.
Right.
So he never saw until the very end how bad it got.
Right.
With the alcohol.
Right. Because as Aaron started to remove, like the pain pills, the alcohol then was kind of got to a bad point, and I never really understood, because knowing her from previously, I always drank more than she did, and I always thought, like this is not, because we would go out for dinner, like she would have one glass of wine and I would have 2 or 3, and it was fine. And I always thought I was confused about this addiction to alcohol, because it seemed like if anyone was having addiction to alcohol, it was more like me and drinking more alcohol than you. I did not really understand it. But then as she removed, the pain pills and then tried to cut back on smoking, like other sources of addiction, then the alcohol would become the new focus. So that's why it got to a point where, the gateway experience became transformative, because it allowed for a kind of a springboard. It was really a springboard that really took. And that's what the most impressive thing to me about it is given I read a lot of statistics, and Aaron shows me how difficult it is, to kind of move successfully through life in sobriety, to keep sobriety for a long term. This seemed to be a program that over a relatively short period created a huge springboard of life-changing experience, not a 1 or 2 year program, a program of, I don't know how long it was, maybe days. 30 days, going from 1 month, being unable to handle your life, to a month later being, working, having tools to kind of manage a life that you could have more things in your life other than substances.
Yeah, I agree with that, because each person that comes to Gateway and is treated, there is a huge assessment process that goes through. And I recall early in my therapeutic, I was meeting with a therapist, and she had stated, after I shared with her about the current weekend relapse, and she said, I don't think I've ever met anybody so multiply addicted to all these different things that you described that are all triggers. And I remember, I'll never forget the question, I'm sure Aaron heard this too, is that, have you ever considered not drinking alcohol? And of course, my statement was that, well, that's the only thing I have left, which was absolute lie, and so you learn that. And I think, Aaron, any of us that are in recovery together and stay connected, I really think it's important to know that this, I love what Aaron said, Charles, earlier, was that there's a little check-in about the dark room that you left. You've closed the door on it, and that's that isolated time, popping pills, smoking, drinking, whatever. And so, Aaron, am I on track with that?
What, the closing of the door?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's
checking into that isolated drinking, pill popping, being able to call it out for what it was.
Yes. Yeah. I think, yeah.
Have there been, over the last 5 years, have you had any major cravings or tempted by, we talk about the people, places, and things, anything that kind of set you off?
No.
I think so.
Okay.
No, well, I would say, I think with the birth of our son,
but that's my sobriety date.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So my sobriety date changed with the birth of my son. I haven't had a drink since Gateway. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me clear this up. I haven't had a drink since Gateway, which was nine years ago, something like that. Right. With the birth of my son, I had major trauma and surgery. And as part of that, they gave me opiates. And so I got off track for a little bit right there, and then I came back into the program. So I do count my sobriety as 5 years from the birth of my son.
Okay.
Gateway was before that, so sorry, I was off with that.
No, that's fine. I think the addiction affects everyone, and there are lots of substances.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right that we layer and we actually focus on that. And Charles can always kind of give you a read. My wife looks at me and she says, "Jim, when's the last time you've gone to a recovery meeting?" And I look at her and I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she said, "Think about it." Next thing I know, we've been using Zoom, right? Or actually going back to face-to-face meetings to check in. And I say that because just because I'm the director of Alumni Services doesn't mean I don't have, challenges of my own.
Right.
But I want to be able to share that so people know it's real.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think more for Charles. Charles is more like, "Oh, you're going to another meeting today?" Like, I'm actually like, I'm in the middle of my program, because to me, especially when COVID hit, this is the thing. I have a small son, and he's extremely important to me. He's the most important thing besides my husband. My family is the most important thing, right? I'm isolated. I'm alone. There's a lot going on. It's traumatic, this COVID thing. And I knew that I needed to step up my game with my sobriety. Like, I knew that I couldn't miss meetings. And so I really started being more and more of service. I started meetings on Zoom. I've been chairing different meetings. Like, I knew I needed to be in the middle of it. I think for him, he's just like, "Oh, another Zoom meeting." But like for me, it's not just about picking up a drink or a drug. That's the other thing. It's not about just picking up a drink or a drug. It's about how I behave and who I am in my life.
Right.
And if I don't go to meetings and if I don't stay emotionally sober, then I don't like who I am. I don't want to be mean to my son, or I'm already mean enough to my husband. Like, I have to work on that. I have to constantly work on my emotional sobriety. Do you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, absolutely.
That comes from me going to meetings.
Well, the emotion, I know that I'm personally a very emotional person. I was when I was using, but I'm going on almost 28 years without a drink or a drug. And the fact is that I couldn't do that without living with my lovely wife who drinks normally. and there are other elements around her, but it's not a big deal. She also helped me find a balance on the meetings, well, prior to the pandemic. But, I was very involved with 12-step related central office district, the whole thing. I was never home on the weekends. And she said, "We have to talk about this. We understand how you need to go get your fix or get your sobriety fixed. But then we have a family and we've got kids to raise and we've got other things we have to do." And I was like, and so it takes a while. And I think you're doing that, Aaron. Sounds like it. So.
Yeah, I think we're working on that. Yeah. So for me, sometimes that feels a little bit like, we haven't spent any family time together. Is today, do we really need to do like 3 meetings, today on the first day, or be in the car. Let's say we're taking a road trip somewhere. Do we need to spend the whole 2 hours in the road trip with Aaron on meetings, on the phone? So sometimes for me, I kind of feel exactly what your wife was talking about. But yeah, we're definitely working on it. But I'm always much happier, and I'm always happy. If that's what Aaron's doing, then that's fine. That's what she needs. But yeah, no, I definitely agree. But it's like anything else in life, needing to balance, things that are taking your time, to the best of your abilities.
The alumni that have been coming onto our alumni meetings weekly, I host each one of those, and I get a little bit of help from some Springfield staff. But I find that is a lot of times on our open alumni check-ins, people want to talk about family or what is not working or what is working. Or if I know they're really quiet after I've gotten to know them through the squares of this virtual world we're in, they do share about that a lot, Charles, and being able, what do I do? And when other alums are able to say, "This is what I did," This is what worked for me. And I'm thinking, yes,
Right.
that's exactly what you want to hear, because at that point there's an extension, there's a new bridge between them, and something that keeps them wanting to come back.
Yep. Exactly. 100%.
So, yeah, one day at a time. Let's see. Oh, what? I got a question. This pandemic has, I don't know how to say it. It's really created a lot of isolation. Charles, what is your knowledge of relapse? Do you know what it is or what it happens for people that drank or drugged again?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding of relapse is that it's extremely common. That's my main understanding, is that it's something to, unless you work the program, you could easily find yourself in either a small relapse or potentially just an uncontrolled relapse where, you kind of are incapable of balancing your life, and you are not doing the things that are keeping you in a way that you could be not only healthy but alive, possibly. And we had, yes, and obviously, I read about it. I mean, I obviously hear from Aaron, but you only have to read about it in the media of people that are trying to
Right.
work the program, and out of the blue, they have relapsed and have passed away. So, so for me, it's something that's, on a risk or danger, at all times. And Aaron has always said that to me for years, that unless I'm working the program, that no matter what kind of positive energy or no matter what's going on in our life, if I get off track, I could get off track after 20 years of sobriety if I'm not working the program or something happens or whatever. So it's something to always be vigilant for. That's my understanding.
No, it's a very good understanding. Aaron, what do you think? And we'll go ahead and share for a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up.
What about relapse?
Mm-hmm.
I relapsed. Sorry, that's my bronchitis. I relapsed. I relapsed. Quite a bit in the first 10 years of my sobriety, because I kept playing whack-a-mole with my addictions. I'd quit one and think I could do. I'd quit pills, think I could drink. I'd quit drinking, think it was the pills. I didn't want to give up. Substances, basically, and so. I had multiple relapses, and I've seen a lot of friends step away from program, stop going to meetings, stop reaching out, and relapse. I've had good friends that went to rehab with me that pass away. I've had friends in the rooms pass away. I was sharing the other day, I've had, I think I've had 5 good friends that I've known in my recovery time die from this disease.
Yeah.
So maybe more. And so it's a very big reality. I mean, it's a relapsable disease. And for me, what I believe for myself is that that's why I stay so close to the center of it. Now, can I go to extremes, I guess, and go to too many meetings and whatever else? Of course. But you know what? I'd rather go to too many meetings than not enough. I'd like to find balance always in my life in moderation. But my sobriety, staying sober, being a mom, things like that, a sober mom, is the most important thing to me. So I know my susceptibility to relapse. And I know that if I'm not in the middle of AA and my spiritual life, my spiritual belief, going to God, working my program, working on my defects of character, working on these things, then I start slipping out, and I can start lying. I can start, and the illness is in my mind. So it's not even like I could work my way out of it. It's my head. So I'll start hearing thoughts of, well, maybe just one, or maybe you could do this, but not this. And then I won't tell the truth. That's how the disease works. It's insidious. It starts with one thought. You read about it all the time, especially in the big book. One thought can just trigger a full-on relapse.
Yeah.
And if you're not surrounding yourself with sobriety program and people to call, and you're not being truthful, and you're not connected to a higher power, this is my belief, then I could be on the road to a relapse very easily. And I don't know necessarily that I have another relapse in me.
Right.
If I choose to go to pills, I could easily overdose with the amount I was taking. So I'm not willing to do that, especially with a small child. And so I stayed dead friggin' center in the middle of the program.
Great. Well, look, thank you both for coming on today. I, again, appreciate your time, Charles, because you give us a little insight. And Aaron and I hit it off immediately when we spoke on the phone and a couple of emails. And I can't wait until we meet in person.
Yeah, exactly.
Without masks, right, outside. But we are, staying with those protocols. So I definitely wanted to share. We have we relaunched our Gateway Connect app, and it is just incredible. It is really a wonderful place to know that if you want to just go G-Connect from Gateway, it's free. And we will, you can set up a profile, and then we'll get you accepted. And it's a great way to continue to stay connected to alumni and people that you may have been treated together with Gateway. Otherwise, next week I will be off, and we'll start fresh in the month of June. So please, everybody have a safe and healthy, I know it's warmed up a little bit, weekend as we go in towards Memorial Weekend, if you can believe it. But otherwise, thank you so much again for Aaron and Charles to be with us today. And we'll, we look, just thank you so much for the time. And I'm glad that you were well enough to be on with me.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think one day difference. If you caught us yesterday, totally different story, but
Yeah,
worked out perfectly. Yeah, our son, back to the illnesses.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay.